Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to EHAF Indonesia 2020 Goes Online. My name is Haris and I'm going to be moderating this webinar. This webinar is going to be presented by Miss Anna from InnoEnergy Master School. Please stay tuned until the end of this webinar because we will have question and answer session. If you have any questions related to the presentations or to the country higher education, you can submit your questions in YouTube's comment section anytime throughout the presentations. And now, without any further ado, please welcome Ms. Anna to deliver the presentation. Time is yours.
Super, thank you, Harris. Let me just firstly share my slides and just to make sure that everyone can see my screen. Can you see my slides now?
Yes.
Are they big? Can you see them properly?
Yes.
The full screen.
Very good.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Harris. So thank you everyone for joining the EIT InnoEnergy Master School webinar today. My name is Anna. I work for EIT InnoEnergy Master School marketing team. And as you can see from my presentation, I'm based here in Stockholm, but I will tell you about our locations throughout the Europe during my presentation. As we don't have a lot of time, I'll try to go a little bit faster during my presentation, but please don't hesitate to ask me any questions that you might have throughout the presentation as well. And then, as Harris said, I'm happy to cover them after I finished. So to start off, I thought it would be good to present to you EIT InnoEnergy as a company, because once you understand what EIT InnoEnergy does as a company, I think the master school will be a little bit easier to grasp as well. So first thing to mention is that EIT InnoEnergy is not only a master school. What we do is we actually also work with companies in energy industry in Europe. So education is only a part of our business, and the other part lies with the corporate. In terms of the company today, we are the largest accelerator for sustainable energy innovation. What we do is we empower every stage of innovation process. And how do we do it? So we invest in people, so we invest in students like yourselves. We invest in technologies, so we invest in products and we help to deliver those products to the market. And we also invest in businesses. So we invest in our student startups, in external startups. We work with already established businesses. And we also involved to some degree in policy making as well in Europe. Now, ever since we've been established, we have been in a very unique position because we have been supported by EIT, and that's the EIT in front of InnoEnergy. EIT stands for European Institute of Innovation and Technology, and it's an official body of European Union. So they have been supporting us in driving energy transition on the continent. Now, what's also important to mention is that even though we do receive a funding from EIT, so essentially we are supported by the European taxpayer, we are considered a public-private partnership. So we also have major industry shareholders on board. And why I think it's important to mention it is because while you're already studying with us, you will be introduced to our network and you will get to meet the energy companies in Europe. I'd like to provide like a little bit of numbers to give you a bit of idea of a scope of the company as well. So as I have mentioned to you, I'm based here in Stockholm, but we have offices dotted across Europe. Essentially, the majority of our offices is where you would be studying, so where we have our university locations. And to provide you an idea a little bit about what we have been doing over the last year. So today we help to deliver more than 400 products to the market. So we helped the energy products to be marketed properly to provide the funding for these products. We have invested more than 500 million euros, again, either into solutions, into companies, into startups, into ideas, everything to do with innovation with the energy sector. We have more than 500 partners across Europe. We're growing outside Europe as well, and we have recently opened an office in US as well. We have 300 startups that we help to accelerate. So actually, if you're studying with us, you are happy to pop by our office, you will meet the startups. We have a specific area designated for them. And essentially, it's great because our students get to meet them, the startups get to interact with each other, and they get to interact with EIT InnoEnergy staff as well. And then another point, which is also very important, is the master school and PhD graduates that we currently have. So over the years, we have been growing this community of students who have graduated. A lot of our students now, they either run their own business or they are working for big corporates, big industry players in Europe. Any opportunity that we have, we always invite our graduates. They like to meet our students. They hire our students, so a lot of them actually hire students for internships or full-time positions within their companies, or they also introduce the students to their companies as well, so they invite their companies to come and meet our students too. So essentially what we have been doing is creating this network of like-minded individuals who are all focused on energy transition in Europe. Now let me tell you a little bit more about EIT InnoEnergy Master School. So the question that I perhaps hear the most from students when I meet them is what's the difference between applying to EIT InnoEnergy and applying to the university directly? And I will mention to you the universities that we have as well in a minute. So essentially, when you apply to EIT InnoEnergy Master School, you have access to the best technical universities and business schools in Europe. You select one of the 8 programs that we offer. All of our programs are in sustainable energy engineering. After you study with us, you spend 2 years in the education. So we only offer master's degree. Our master's is 2 years. And what happens after you finish is that you graduate with double degree from both of the universities that you have attended. So you can't attend the same university for 2 years. It's important that you change universities from year 1 to the second year to encourage mobility within Europe. Parallel to this, we pride ourselves on unique learning methodologies. So while you will be studying with us, you also receive access to something called Innovation Entrepreneurship Journey. It's a compulsory part of your program. It runs, as I said, parallel to your studies. And what happens is you're stepping away from traditional technical engineering degree. So yes, you will go to the universities and you will study engineering at the university. But outside of classes, you will have a number of activities that will be available only to you and not to the university students. So, for example, I listed some of my favorite activities here. They depend on which location you decide to study and which program you decide to study. But just to give you an example, so for example, you started your first year, you're studying, and you are invited to go to ESADE Business School for 2 weeks in Spain. So you're traveling from, maybe you're studying from Stockholm, you're going with your fellow students from Stockholm and other locations, you all meet at ESADE Business School and you participate in the training there. We have also TU Munich, the startup accelerator that recently joined us. It's one of the biggest startup accelerators in Germany. We have Grenoble Ecole de Management, which also offers our students training in entrepreneurship. Students receive access to major European energy events. So you might be studying with us, and then in October, I believe, normally happens the European Utility Week, which for some of the students will be a compulsory part of the program, and they will be required to attend the event, participate in challenges set by the industry. They will have certain things they will need to do during the event, but essentially the focus will be on networking. We offer students field trips, so students travel to Azores Islands, for example, in Portugal, to learn about sustainable energy solutions. We have students going to company visits. So we have a university in Torino, and they have a great relationship with industry up north. So we have students going to Maserati, Tesla. Data science and project management is also a very important part of the program. So we offer students additional training in these topics, and If you're interested, you can also read about the experience on our website, the students who have just completed them. And additionally, you receive access to events organized by a career center, such as company speed dating, where you meet the industry again. So as you might have gathered from this, a big focus during your education with us will be on networking and building relationships. So the idea is that you already have a good network set up before you even graduate, or you will also find a right job for you before you even graduate. And this is where our dedicated career center team plays a big part. So traditionally in the big university, you'll have a career center, but of course you have a large number of students who go to the university. With InnoEnergy, we have a smaller group of students. Our intake is much smaller, and you have a dedicated career center team that looks after you. And this is what I mentioned. So Career Center provides real life cases and challenges. So they have industry connections, and what they do is they let students to interact with the companies. You have access to dedicated Career Center portal where they post jobs for the students and internships as well. There is a number of additional activities which are available. So for example, we have something called Career Impact Program. And this is a personal mentorship and coaching program, which is completely voluntary, but a lot of students decide to participate in it. It runs also parallel to your studies. And the mentors that you receive will come also from the industry. And in fact, I did a webinar last month with a student, and she told me that she found and secured her job position because of the mentor's recommendation. So it's very handy. We also have additional initiatives within the company as a whole, but also aimed at the students after they graduate. So for example, the latest initiative this year, we introduced Sidewalk. It's an accelerator program for students. Students can submit idea for a startup after they graduate. And if successful, they receive support from EIT InnoEnergy, so the corporate side of the business. And there's also additional funding that's dedicated for this program for the students as well. So in terms of the universities where you would be studying, I cannot mention the education without mentioning the university locations. So as I mentioned, we have 14 technical universities and business schools available in Europe. During your education with us, you will study at 2 of these universities. So you decide which university you want to go for first year and which university you want to go to for your second year. These universities are listed as top for engineering and technology. So they are all technical universities. And they're listed as top for graduate employability. And they are located in most innovative countries for anyone who is interested in running their own business afterwards as well. This is a great plus. Now, I just want to clarify, there's a little bit of confusion sometimes when I speak to students, and they think that when they attend these universities, they participate in some sort of a course from EIT InnoEnergy, and then they receive a certificate from EIT InnoEnergy. You do receive a certificate from us, but the main qualification that you will receive will be directly a degree from the university. So it will be no different that if you attended the university directly. It's just instead of 1 degree, you will have 2 degrees. Instead of studying in 1 place, you'll study 2 places, and you also participate in innovative and business-oriented activities while you're studying as well. So here are listed the 8 master programs that we currently offer students. As you can see, they're all in sustainable energy engineering. Some of these are more straightforward, such as Masters in Nuclear Energy. Others you might want to read a little bit more to see what the main focus of the program is. Now, I don't have time today to go into detail about all the programs. So today I decided to pick this program, Masters in Environomical Pathways for Sustainable Energy Systems, or as we shorten it, Masters Sustainable Energy Systems. And I thought what I'd do is I'll present to you the program and kind of explain to you how the journey of this program works. So then you can get the feel for the other programs because they follow the similar pattern. So this program, it's one of our most popular programs. It's very similar to Renewable Energy program. However, what you have here is you have availability of wide set of specializations. So you can actually specialize in a variety of topics. This program is very much focused on sustainable energy solutions and their implementation. And the biggest part of this program is the real life projects across the globe. So during your first and second year, you'll be really working on the challenges. So it's a hands-on program. It's essentially for anyone who is interested to be diving in and trying to find a solution to existing problems. And I will mention it in a second as well. As you can see from the map here, these universities, so we have 14 technical universities. However, when you look at the programs, you will have different universities available for different programs. So this program is currently taught at these universities in the map. And what you can do is you can see, okay, I can select this university, so KTH Royal Institute of Technology, for example, for my first year. And for my second year, I can go to Eindhoven University of Technology. And this is how all of the programs work. You will have the list of universities available, and you can see where you can study first and second year. For example, certain universities like Aalto University here is only available for the second year. That means that you'll get the general and introductory education still in Stockholm, but for the second year, you will do your specialization in Aalto if you wish. So I advise you to go on our website and have a look at our universities, and there is a handy tool which essentially filters down. You select the university or the program you wish to study, and then you can see exactly what the program is available. I also listed the specializations here available. Depending on the specialization, you might want to choose one university over the other. However, I also advise you to speak to our student ambassadors who are currently studying the program, because they might say to you that it's not that vital that even though for example, IST specializes in offshore energy systems. Perhaps you can also do solar systems in IST as well. So it's just good to check and make sure that these specializations are also available. And this is what I mentioned to you before about innovation entrepreneurship journey. So let's say you started in Stockholm your first year. In the first year already you have something called the Project of the Year. This is where a company, NGO, maybe a government body, for example, we had students working recently for Stockholm's local authorities. Essentially, you set a challenge by these companies. Then you work in a team with your fellow students, and you have to find a solution. And what, in fact, you're doing is you're running a small startup, essentially. Some of these actually become the startups afterwards. So you have to find the funding, you have to find the solution, you have to look at how you're going to market it. So it's very, as I said, hands-on. So straight away, you're dealing with the challenges that are presented. At the first year, you kind of supported with the universities. But then in the second year, you have something called the Integrated Project of the Year. And here's where you really have to drive it yourself. So either you carry on with the challenge that you already had, or either you find your own challenge. So we had students supporting their local communities. We have students from all over the world, and they find challenges in their home countries as well. But essentially what happens is that students, at least before coronavirus right now, and hopefully in the future, were traveling all over the world, and going back and forwards, meeting the people who live in these places, trying to understand how they can support them, what solutions they can implement. So it's very interesting, and it's very good for those of you who are interested in this problem solving. Students also go to ESADE Business School, so they participate in business and entrepreneurship training. So they have a crash course and they have a certificate from ESADE after they graduate as well. And students participate in summer internships, and also students are supported and encouraged to have a master thesis as internship normally. And here also I've listed the industry partners. So our programs are designed with university, but also with the industry as well. In terms of requirements, so normally what we do is we look for good academic background. Because we offer master's programs, you need to have a bachelor degree or you master's degree, and this could be your second master's, for example. We look at GPA and academic score. Then we look at English proficiency. So we require all students to take an English test. And university reputation, so we know good universities as well. And we require students to demonstrate experience in innovation and entrepreneurship. So this is something that you can do through your motivation letter. So you can mention either your previous work experience, or perhaps you mention how come you're driven, you know, even if you maybe haven't had a previous work experience, maybe just demonstrate some sort of innovative and entrepreneurial thinking that you have. And as a side note, we have a lot of students coming from Indonesia. We normally don't have problems with students getting admitted from Indonesia because the quality of education is very high. So I would strongly encourage you to apply. And also, as we do have a lot of students from Indonesia, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to them as well. The application dates. So we run in rounds. The reason why these rounds are important, so currently the first round's already been closed, and we will have the second round closing on 10th of January. So the rounds are important because only in the first and second round would you be considered for a scholarship. So you don't need to do anything extra to be considered. You just submit the application, and by default, once the application is submitted, all the students are reviewed and considered for the scholarships. The rounds are also important because currently we have all programs and universities available to be selected for the education. But for example, if you reach round 4 or round 5, so later next year, you might find that certain programs that may be more popular than others have been filled up, or certain universities that may be more popular than others have also been filled up. So I encourage all students to apply earlier, just while all the programs are available. In terms of the fees that we have, so the current education fee is 18,000 euros per academic year. This excludes accommodation and travel to and from your country. However, all the activities that I've mentioned during your education, which are compulsory part of the program, such as, for example, travel to ESADE Business School, or travel to Azores Islands, or travel to another university to follow courses there. All these activities are covered by InnoEnergy, so you don't have to worry about, you know, travel cost, accommodation, etc. During your education, during those activities. We don't have an application fee, so you can apply and you don't have to pay anything. What we do have, though, is a 250 euros registration fee. Essentially, it's you saving a spot. So you have been admitted, you have received an offer, and you want to save this offer, so you pay the 250 registration fee. As I mentioned, we do have scholarships available. We have a certain number of scholarships available for all the programs. The scholarships are such that you would not pay for the education. So we would cover your education with the universities. And you would also receive a monthly allowance of 750 euros. It might vary slightly, but it will be around that for the duration of your education. So every month you will receive for 2 years this monthly allowance coming in. It's also good to mention that we have partial waivers. So maybe at the later stage, some programs maybe have not been filled up, or we see we see that maybe student wanted to study one program, but we have another program which is available. You might be offered a partial waiver as well. But these are just as scholarships are awarded on academic basis, so on merit. To qualify for both of these, there's not like a process that if you hit a certain requirement, you will automatically receive it, because essentially what you're doing is you're competing against other students who have also applied for these programs. So it works a little bit almost like a competition for the scholarships. And then to finish off, before we go into Q&A, I wanted to give you a bit of a flavor of what life can be like after graduating from EIT InnoEnergy. So I asked our Career Center to share with me some stats from the students. So first of all, I wanted to show you the kind of jobs our students do after they graduate. So as you can see, it's very varied. We have students going into become consultants or data analysts or project engineers. So it really depends on what you're interested. Additionally, we have students going into research. We have students starting their own companies. So 12% of our students actually have their own business. The majority of our students are employed within 6 months after graduation. Please keep in mind that this does not include students in internship. So the number probably is even higher than that. And then 72% of our students are employed in Europe. So I got a breakdown of the countries where students tend to stay, and all these countries we have universities at. So it's not a surprise. Oh, sorry, it just disappeared. There we go, you should see it now. So it's not a surprise. But yes, you can see the breakdown here. So the majority stay in Germany, Netherlands, Sweden, France, and Spain. And what's also important is, of course, maybe you have not heard about EIT InnoEnergy before, but we've been operating in Europe for a long time. We work a lot with energy companies, and if you mention EIT InnoEnergy, most of them would be familiar where you're coming from as well. So on top of the university education, you have this added bonus of networking with us. I also provided a list of top employers and top companies providing internships. I think some of these companies are perhaps more international than others, but all of these companies are big in Europe. So my big suggestion is always to students that when they start to study with us is to have a look at these companies and apply to these companies, because they know our students and they very much like to hire our students as well. So it's always good to know some of the industry that likes to hire EIT InnoEnergy students. And this is it from me. Please don't hesitate to let me know if you have any questions. So I will stop sharing now.
All right, thank you very much for a very impressive presentation, you, Anna.
Yes,
Now
yes.
we move on to a question and answer session. There are several questions that we would like to ask to you. The first one is from the webinar participants. Hi, I'm a fresh graduate from biotechnology and I have an interest in sustainability energy. Am I suitable to apply at master program in InnoEnergy? If yes, can you recommend what kind of field or what kind of master program that is suitable for me? She
Did you
has
say
just graduated
biotechnology?
biotechnology, yes, and she has an interest in sustainability energy for her master degree. Is
Okay,
it suitable,
excellent.
or do you have any other recommendation?
So I will say that normally our students come from engineering background, such as mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, electric engineering. Those are the traditional, of course, if you are interested in nuclear as well, it's a little bit different, but those are the traditional degrees that we receive our students from. I'm not sure about the bio, but what you can do is I'm happy to, so if you go on our website, there is a section about how to apply. And within this section, there is a section with requirements. So each program has its own requirements. So you have general requirements like English, good GPA, etc. But then each program will have their own requirements, and certain programs might want you to have a certain knowledge of the specific subject, like more knowledge in electric engineering, more knowledge in chemical, or some specific course maybe in a subject. So I would suggest to you to look at these requirements. They're very easy. It's just a small table and it's very easy to use. And then you can see, okay, is there a bio in one of these requirements? If so, then you know you can apply to one of the programs. Oh, Harris, we can't hear you.
Okay. So the best way is to look for the website first, and then the participants, the webinar participant can see what are the requirements needed in order to take the master degree that she or he would like to take in the future.
Yes, I think so, because this is not the most common. This is not the most common subject that we receive students from. So I would just not feel comfortable telling you exactly that. Yes, you can apply with this background. But I'm happy. I'm just trying to find it now, and I will share a link to you, all the participants now in the chat, so you can see all the requirements here, and then you can look per program. Mm-hmm.
So we move on to the next questions. Earlier you mentioned about joint programs with other institutions inside InnoEnergy, right? Are the programs in that institutions out of Netherlands are taught in English or in their local language? For example, in Italy or in Portugal, whether it will be taught in English or in what language?
Yes, so I think just to clarify again, so it's joint programs with other institutions, but you study essentially the whole idea of studying with EIT InnoEnergy is that you study at these institutions, so you enroll as a student with them. The programs are all in English, so you are not required to know the local language before you start the program. In some places, like France, they offer you additional courses in the local language, for example. In fact, all the universities more or less offer courses in local language for free for students. But I think in France, it's a little bit particular that students are required to maybe take like a small credit of a class for French, but just to make sure, I think it's rather basic. It's just more to make sure that, yeah, they feel well integrated maybe within the community. But no, the education is all in English, so you don't have to worry.
So everything will be taught in English. So there is no specific requirements of language certificate.
No, only English certificate. So in fact, we have an Indonesian student right now. She studied in Sweden and now she's studying in France, and there was no certificate for French, so you didn't need to do it.
Very well noted. And for next questions. Okay. As we know that if we have the student visa and we continue our study in the European Union, is it possible for us to, for example, have part-time job on it and to look for a certain, yeah, because we still have plenty of time, spare time during our main duty as students. Is it possible for us to have like
To have a part-time?
Mhm.
Yes, so very good question. Okay, so you won't have that much time. I mean, normally the students are very busy. I mean, I have students who also intern for me, and I know now they're super busy, so I'm not expecting them to do much because they're all in exams and they're preparing stuff for ESADE Business School as well, which is also, as I understood, it's not that straightforward. Like it requires a lot of time for them. Students can work. We do have plenty of students doing part-time jobs. Normally it depends on a country. So in certain countries you probably have like amount of hours that you can work, so you can't go over those hours. But yes, we have students working. So we have students working in the office, we have students working for the startups, there's students who do small jobs, like maybe in a restaurant or something small. Students work in the universities, so it is possible. You just have to, you just see how you can manage. If you have enough time, then of course, everyone is very different in that respect. And then in terms of visas as well, so after you graduate, it's very interesting the way the visas work. So for example, because you apply for 2 places, right? You apply for, and I always take Sweden as an example, which is because I know more students here in Stockholm. But for example, you studied in Sweden for first year, and then you decided to go to Italy for your second year. Now, when you finish your studies in Italy, you still might have like months left on your visa in Sweden. So what I had students do, for example, is they went to Stockholm then to look for a job. And then they knew they had a certain amount of time to look for a job afterwards in Stockholm from Italy. And they knew if they didn't find a job in Stockholm, they could still then go back to Italy and look for a job in Italy if they wanted to, because they knew they would have even a little bit of time on their visa in Italy left. So I think there are some interesting loopholes. Well, not loopholes, but there's interesting opportunities because you would be in 2 countries. So you might actually have an opportunity in the end to look at the job at either of those countries. And also, sorry, just to mention, it's also, I think, rather important for students regarding visa. You might also want to have a look which countries offer longer post-study visas as well. Because, for example, I think Netherlands offer something to up to a year, if I'm correct. But then in Spain, it might be a little bit less. So it's also could affect the choice of where you want to study.
Okay, so I think every student also need to take that as considerations, maybe before
Definitely.
applying or after they graduated, whether they can look for a job in certain countries and also look for the regulations on every country in the European Union. Correct?
Yes, definitely. But in general, I wouldn't worry too much. I mean, all the students that I know, I mean, of course, not everyone, but most of the students are employed. And I've never had any problems in terms of like students like travel or anything. More or less, they very flexible. And even though and I'm talking about students outside of the European Union right now. So I have a student who graduated in France, but now she's working in Norway, or because a lot of them would be in internships as well. So then you can get like a either post study visa supported by the employer, or you find a new employer and they sponsor your visa. So it's not as difficult. I mean, in UK, for example, it's rather hard to get a sponsored visa, like as I understand. But certain countries are a bit more easier in that respect.
Thank you. That's a very impressive explanation. I believe every webinar participants will get more insight on it. And also, please do not forget we have virtual fair on Friday and Saturday. So every webinar participants, you can join us later on Friday and Thursday, Friday and Saturday on event.ehaf.id. So Anna, thank you very much for your time and also for your presentations. We are very happy to have you here, and we do hope that the current pandemic situation will be over so we can have our life back to normal again soon.
Yes, super. Thank you very much. And sorry, just a side note as well, because I spoke to a student from Indonesia who was traveling for the second year now to study in France. And I know she was very worried because, I mean, you're so far away from your family and the situation is a little bit unclear at the moment. Just for you to know as well, in every location that you would be studying with us, we have a designated person. So the person responsible to supporting the students while they're studying. And I think it's important for you to know that. So, anything that like kind of goes wrong, maybe you lock down in the room or maybe you can't go to the shop. So you can always contact that person to support you. And I mean, we have had students contacting as well. So it's not a problem. And I think it's just important for you to know this.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much, Anna, for your time, and please do take care there, and we'll see you later on Friday and Saturday. Thank you very
Thank you very
much.
much. Thanks,
Bye
everyone. Please come and
bye.
meet me at the booth. Thanks. Bye.